Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the program. Today we're going to go through this article titled Homo sapiens may have brought archery to Europe about 54,000 years ago. So what they found, 852 stone artifacts excavated in the Homo sapiens sediment layer at Grotte Mandrin, dated to about 54,000 years ago, with signs of high impact damage and butcher and cut marks. So Grotte Mandrin is a rock shelter in southern France, and I'll have a link to in the description at the end of the video with more information regarding Grotte Mandrin. And basically, in a nutshell, it was a hotbed for Neanderthal and sapiens activity, and one of the few places in the world where there was an overlap between two populations in the same geographic area. Among these, the 852 stone artifacts they found were tiny triangular stone points excavated in that area. Although there have been no bows found at the site, since obviously wood preserves poorly, and the oldest intact bows in Northern Europe date to about 11,000 years ago, which is considerably much younger. But most likely, bows existed during this time as well, just by virtue of these stone points. And the article goes into some detail about some of the evidence that they have, like some of the details such as the impact damage and butcher and cut marks, like I mentioned earlier, and how these projectiles were capable of killing animals as well. And the whole implication of this is that Homo sapiens moved into Europe and introduced bows and arrows to that continent. Previous stone and bone point discoveries point to roughly East Africa as the origin of bow and arrow hunting about 60 to 80,000 years ago. When I spoke with Bruce Fenton, he was talking about the debate about the L3 lineage of the mitochondrial L3 haplogroup. He informed me that there was a debate between the out of Africa people and the into Africa people about the emergence of L3, whether it was inside East Africa or right outside East Africa. And if they emerged outside of East Africa and crossed the Bab el-Mandeb Straits like he suggested in that interview, then it makes sense that these people, right when Lake Toba erupted 74,000 years ago, so this puts them right at the same time period as when ranged weapons were first thought to have been to have emerged among sapiens. And if L3 did indeed play the role of this hypothesis of climate refugees, then it makes sense that if they had ranged weapons, they would not be prevented from coming into Africa if there was a native African population there, which there was. And just to provide a little bit of context, Mount Toba erupted 74,000 years ago. It caused large migrations of people into various habitable places. So there, you had a lot of humans entering Africa, Asia, and Australia, Greater Oceania. Basically, a lot of sub-equatorial zones were pretty more or less safe. A lot of areas in the northern hemisphere, specifically Europe and mainly the Northwest, had near uninhabitable conditions, and these individuals carried with them, like I said earlier, ranged weapons. So Homo sapiens visited the area of Grotte Mandrin as early as 56,800 years ago, 14,000 years before the Neanderthals went extinct, which was about 40,000 years ago. They're in this area. This places Homo sapiens in this area much earlier than researchers had thought. And there's a quote: "We've shown that the earliest known Homo sapiens to migrate into Neanderthal territories had mastered the use of the bow." So you have this population of bow masters essentially living with, again, Neanderthals. There's no evidence that Neanderthals were present in Europe at this time had launched arrows at prey. They have not found anything beyond spears and stuff. Ultimately, the larger implication here is that these two populations lived together for 14,000 years while they had this so-called technological disparity. So the jury is still out in regards to the reasons why Neanderthals went extinct. Maybe they did use the bows eventually on them, but who really knows what happened? It could very well just as easily be a climate shift. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I thought this is pretty interesting, especially in light of the more recent video in regards to the obsidian manufacturing area also in East Africa. One thing for certain is that there was a lot of technological manufacturing and usage amongst the people in that region, and probably for a long time before, probably for as long as there was humanity. Anyway, that's about it for this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you later.